Welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. Let's go. When you take your very first class with me, whether it's a one-on-one or part of a group session, I invite you to join my private LinkedIn group where we keep in touch and share in each other's successes. Much like my jogging, or maybe unlike my jogging. Okay, more like this. Warsaski Wambaa was a participant in some of my earliest VO workshop sessions, and she recently was invited to join me as part of the select VO talent represented at Trailer Voice Artists. Liz Moya was invited to join the talent roster at the new San Diego-based InnoVision Talent and Casting, and as I understand it, this is her very first agency, so that's pretty cool. Paul Green Dennis, he began his sessions with me this January, and he shared that he was just hired to narrate his very first audiobook, and I know that he's very excited about that. And lastly, Verity Uma, who at the age of 15 years old, she's the youngest member of my VO workshop group. She recently became the recipient of a One Voice Award for Best Children's Voiceover Performance under 18. Every month in my VO workshop, I invite participants to take part in what's called the VO Challenge, and it's optional. It's just something fun we do each month. This month we're doing movie trailer, which is what we did last month as May, so we're returning to that theme. And it's an original script that I wrote for a movie called Beginnings. And I tried to keep the script middle of the road because the way you read the script determines what genre it is. So last year there was a lot of horror kind of scary movie reads. Interestingly, this year, this May, none. So there were no scary movie reads. So there were still other options or other genres to choose from. So romantic, comedy, or adventure, or sci-fi. Everyone reads the same script. In the script, there's an open spot to include 2 actors of your choice. So depending on the theme, if it was a comedy, you can put 2 comedic actors in there. If it's something more kind of sci-fi or dramatic, you put dramatic actors in there. And I'll post the script, I'll share it in the chat, or rather in the description, so you can kind of see what's coming up. So again, the way you read it determines the genre of the movie. Your voice obviously is required. I ask them to use music and or sound effects, and I ask them to keep it within 60 seconds. And as always, video is not required. Audio is all you need to submit to participate in the VO Challenge. But more and more students are becoming adept at video production. And that's kind of cool. And I'll even admit, you know, when the world shut down a couple years ago, I kind of started to dabble with video production. And now I found I love it. I'm not that great at it. I'm kind of slow and it takes me a while. But it's another creative avenue to kind of get the creative juices flowing. And so I enjoy it. And so other students and colleagues are sharing with me that they're also enjoying video production. One participant shared that it took just over 5 hours to produce their spot. I won't mention any names, but sometimes when you're in the throes of creativity, I sometimes look and I'm like, oh my gosh, hours have gone by, and I love doing this. It's exciting. This is going to be fun. In random order, here are my students' submissions for the VO Challenge of May 2023.
Sometimes the world as you know it.
I now pronounce you husband and husband. You may kiss the husband. Kiss the husband.
Is not entirely.
If this marriage is something you've cooked up in response to this pension problem, you are not taking me down with you.
What it seems.
This marriage is the only way I can make sure my kids get my pension if something happens to me.
Our domestic partnership is being challenged by the city.
You guys have nothing to worry about because you're a legitimate gay couple, right?
Adam Sandler. Kevin James.
Greatest body I've ever seen, besides Larry's.
Well, these are real, by the way.
Jose. Yucky.
Beginnings. In theaters Friday.
You are a lousy best friend and a stupid ugly husband.
For the record, every time I laughed at one of your jokes, I was faking it. You're a monster!
Sometimes the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Allison Williams, Violet McGraw. Beginnings in theaters Friday.
Sometimes.
Frank, before we go any further, there's something I have to tell you.
Now it fell off.
No, nothing like that. I wish it were something that trivial.
The world as you know it.
Frank, I have 8 children.
8 children?
4 boys, 4 girls, different ages.
Is not entirely what it seems.
Wait till you hear what I have to tell you.
What?
I have 10 children.
10?
3 boys, 5 girls.
Henry Fonda.
That's only 8.
Oh, and 2 on loan out.
Lucille Ball.
Frank, 8 and 10 is
ridiculous.
Beginnings in theaters Friday.
Sometimes. The world as you know it.
I have long feared that my sins would return to visit me.
Is not entirely what it seems.
What do you want me to do? I've got no place to go.
John Cleese, Jodie Foster. Beginnings in theaters Friday.
Sometimes, the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems.
Well, the others are going to be better.
Couldn't be worse.
Don't even bother.
Morgan Freeman, Diane Keaton. Beginnings.
And why are we moving? What are we chasing? Haven't we built a good life?
I just want what's best for us.
We can do whatever the hell we want. High five.
Oh, why are you still paying this old lady?
What old lady?
Ooh. Good answer.
In theaters Friday.
Sometimes, the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Sofia Vergara, Jason Statham. Beginnings in theaters Friday.
Sometimes, the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Daniel Day-Lewis, Amy Adams. Beginnings in theaters Friday.
Sometimes the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Jennifer Aniston, Hugh Grant. Beginnings in theaters Friday.
Sometimes, the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Will Ferrell, Angelina Jolie. Beginnings in theaters Friday.
If there is fate, who can say? But in the Grand Bazaar of Istanbul, I chose a memento.
Like it. Whatever it is, I'm sure it has an interesting story.
Sometimes the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems.
So what will you wish for?
What is your heart's desire?
This summer,
There's no story about wishing that is not a cautionary tale.
Idris Elba, Tilda Swinton.
I'm beginning to wish we'd never met.
Don't say that!
Beginnings in theaters Friday.
Sometimes, the world as you know it
is not entirely what it seems. Ryan Reynolds, Emma Stone, Beginnings, in theaters Friday.
Sometimes the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Keanu Reeves, Vin Diesel, Beginnings, in theaters Friday.
Sometimes the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Gary Sinise, Connie Nielsen, Beginnings, in theaters Friday.
Sometimes the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Kirsten Connolly, Ben Affleck, Beginnings, in theaters Friday.
Sometimes the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Johnny Depp, Helena Bonham Carter, Beginnings, in theaters Friday.
Sometimes the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Julia Roberts, George Clooney. Beginnings, in theaters Friday.
Sometimes the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Reese Witherspoon, John Krasinski, Beginnings, in theaters Friday.
Sometimes the world as you know it is not entirely what it seems. Elijah Wood, Daniel Radcliffe. Beginnings, in theaters Friday.
I've heard police work is dangerous.
It is, that's why I carry a big gun.
Sometimes
A nice party hat, Britt. See a lot of familiar facelifts.
the world as you know it
Boy forgets girl, boy remembers girl. Girl dies in a tragic blimp accident over the Orange Bowl on New Year's Day.
Good year.
No, the worst.
is not entirely what it seems.
She was giving me a look I could feel in my hip pocket.
Do you gamble, Lieutenant?
Every time I order out.
Leslie Nielsen,
Aren't you afraid it might go off accidentally?
I used to have that problem.
What did you do about it?
I just think about baseball.
Priscilla Presley,
I couldn't believe it was her. It was like a dream. There she was, just like I remembered her. Delicately beautiful face and a body that could melt a cheese sandwich from across the room.
Beginnings,
She reminded me of my mother, all right, no doubt about it.
in theaters Friday.